I have to tell you that business was the last thing on my mind when I opened ChezPennies. I was completely clueless about money. And I was so oblivious to profit and loss that I thought it was really important, you know, to do something a certain way, because that's the way I wanted to have it done. And the dollar, you know, the cost of that never quite fit into my calculations. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. What mattered was doing the right thing. And somehow money would follow. I was sure. I still have this theory. Still have this theory. If you're doing the right thing, you'll get the money to do it. Anyway, what mattered to me then was how things tasted. And, well, of course, we never really had any money, and it was years and years before we really started breaking even. My partners used to always joke, people are just spending money like waters. Spending money like waters. But here I am now. And somehow we survived, and somehow I made a mark. And I'm inclined to believe that it's because I stayed focused on the way things tasted, and because I wanted to keep getting better at tasting. I hate to sound like a kind of self-important and self-appointed visionary, but it's true. I had a vision, and I still do, and it's pretty all-encompassing. I have this obsession about good food, and I have this conviction that it's all tied up with a way of life that ought to be available to everybody on this planet. I feel like I've always had this strong belief that life and work should be integrated, and we should incorporate a set of values into the workplace, and that together we should change the world. I really did come to this philosophy on my own, having grown up as an average kid in New Jersey in the 1950s. But there were early influences on me that made me start thinking about good food. And as you probably know, during World War II, the government actually paid people money to grow vegetables, the victory gardens in their backyards. And my father had planted one of those victory gardens, and he kept it up his whole life. One 4th of July, and you've probably heard this story if you've been around ChezPennies or reading my books, but I was dressed up as the queen of the garden. And I had an asparagus skirt, and I had a lettuce leaf top, and I had little bracelets of radishes and peppers, and I had this little wreath of strawberries on my head. And I won the prize, the costume contest at a local park. And I think that was where this all began, who can say? But it was much later, when I was traveling in Europe, that I really started paying attention to eating with all of my senses. I spent my junior year abroad in Paris, and I'm a little ashamed to report that I never attended many classes. My friend Sarah and I were too busy eating. We started out at the self-service cafe because we were afraid to speak French. And we found things there that I'd never tasted before, things so ordinary like yogurt and oysters and pâté. And eventually I got up my courage to hang out with the French students, who took a critical approach as a matter of course, a critical approach to food. And for the first time, I met people who thought of good food as an indispensable part of life. Every day was punctuated by food-related decisions. It went without saying that you had to get to the bakery early so that you could get a fresh, hot baguette. Naturally, one spent an hour or two in the afternoon in the cafe with one's friends. But the biggest surprise that my new French friends only bought produce in season, because that's when it was the least expensive and tasted the best. Eating together was the most important ritual in their lives, a crucial and non-negotiable time when the flavors and the smells of roasted chickens and sizzling garlic, the crunch of crusty bread, and the taste of local wine teased out our most passionate ideas and feelings. I'd never thought about food so seriously before, and I certainly had never thought about pleasure that way. Nor was any of this an intellectual exercise. I just absorbed these lessons by living them. And I began to feel the intimate connection between eating good food and living a truly good life. After college, I traveled through Turkey, and I had another awakening, this time about food and hospitality. To be precise, about the no questions asked, totally accepting and generous sharing that seems to come so naturally from people who live close to the land. Once, while we were camping out in this field in the middle of nowhere in Turkey, we woke up in the morning and we found a little bowl of goat's milk put under the side of the tent.